Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy.
I'm Ray.
We are
Those Trekking Thick Bins. So can you believe we just crossed our 6th month Nomadiversary?
I can't. It has flown by.
Yeah, I can't believe either. It's just, I mean, we're back in Florida where we started, or almost where we started.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like it's been 6 months at all.
No.
So I thought what we'd do in this video is share a little bit about our past 6 months, some of the things we saw, some of the things we learned, and camping expenses.
Yes.
I'm not going to go into food expenses and gas expenses and all that stuff because that's different for everybody. But the camping expenses that we are going to share with you, that's pretty much the same for everybody, or at least you have the same options.
Right.
So, things we saw. We saw George Washington's birthplace.
We did. That was so cool.
And that's when we were at Harborview. Yeah, I think that was Harborview in Virginia.
Yes, that was Harborview.
There were a lot of presidential birthplaces. I think James Madison,
Monroe.
James Monroe.
Yeah, it was cool.
So it was pretty cool.
So cool. Being a history buff.
Yeah. Went to. These won't be in order.
No.
Just
no,
in order
no
off.
way.
In order off the kind of the top of our head.
Right.
Or by the way I put them on a note.
Right.
So we also visited a place that I had never even heard of and stumbled across it completely by accident while we were staying at Tewksbury Pond in New Hampshire. And that was America's Stonehenge, which was pretty fascinating. Everybody's heard, I would say everybody watching this video probably has heard of Stonehenge.
Yes.
And America's Stonehenge in New Hampshire is pretty much what it says. It's like a sister site. I think it's even on the same latitude, longitude, whatever as Stonehenge.
Crazy. It's crazy.
It's just as old. It was 3500 BC, I think.
Yes, that sounds right.
And it had there was really kind of two parts to America's Stonehenge. There was a almost like a town, a couple of houses, all stone.
Yep.
And then there was a big celestial ground, kind of like Stonehenge that everybody's familiar with, pointing to north and all the astronomical things. It was
awesome.
But it was
awesome.
interesting.
Yeah.
Very inexpensive. They actually have an app that I'm going to link in the bottom in the description. It's a free app that you can go to and see all the details of America's Stonehenge. It's interesting. It might be worth your while to take a look at that.
Definitely worth it.
We went to Gettysburg National Park in Battlefield.
Oh my God. That blew my mind.
And Kathy wasn't feeling real well when we were in Gettysburg. Probably, I think our last video, we talked about that a little bit, and I'll link that up here somewhere up at the top. So we really didn't get out of the car. They have a 3-hour in-car audio tour of the battlefield, and it takes all 3 hours to ride through. Again, that was available by app. That app you had to pay
$6 or
$10 for, less than $10.
Yeah.
But it knew by GPS where you were, and so when you got up to a site, it would tell you about the site.
It was surreal for me to see some of the sites.
It was huge.
It was
that
ginormous.
Battleground is so big, and so many lives were lost there.
Yes.
And even with that, you know what stood out in my mind most?
What's
the
that?
whole battlefield tour?
What?
Battlefield Sally.
Oh yes, the dog.
The dog.
The dog.
There was a monument raised. Of course, our dog's name is Mustang Sally. She's a part pit bull. And there was a monument raised for Battlefield Sally. I think she was a Union soldier's, or she kind of belonged to a Union regiment or whatever. She was the mascot. But apparently there's a story behind Battlefield Sally, and I'll let you research that on your own. But she was good enough that they felt it necessary to erect a monument in her in her memory.
That was so
It
cool.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got to see, we went to, let's see, when we were down in Gateway to Cape Cod, is that when we went to Boston? Or went to Plymouth?
Plymouth, yes.
Yep. Went to Plymouth. I've never been to Plymouth, Mass. So I got to see the Plymouth Rock.
And
It was kind of a letdown.
I know. You said it's just a rock.
It's a little rock and a hole in the ground. And
Yeah.
I might put a picture up here somewhere.
And you saw the replica of the Mayflower too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Might have been cooler if we had taken the tour on it, but we really weren't out sightseeing per se. Which, as full-time RVers, we're not on vacation. We'll go out and visit things from time to time, but I think some people think that when you're RVing, you're supposed to be vacationing all the time, and that's number one. It's way outside the budget to be able to do something like
Right.
that.
And it would be exhausting.
And it would be very exhausting.
Yeah.
So Plymouth Rock, and what was the third thing? There was something else we saw there. Plymouth Rock, maybe that was it.
Yeah, that's it. And I used to go there because I'm from Massachusetts on school outings.
Yeah. So we went to Hershey RV Park, and from there we got to go to Hershey's Chocolate World.
Yes, we did. Oh my God.
Kathy hates chocolate.
Oh my God.
She absolutely
Oh.
hates chocolate.
Oh,
But that was fun. Chocolate World was free to go in. There was an inside tour of the factory, kind of.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was free. Of course, buying chocolate wasn't free, but we definitely bought chocolate because that's how do you go to Chocolate World without buying chocolate?
I know. It was awesome.
So when we were in Ronda Out Valley, New York, we went to a state park there. I can't remember the name of the state park, but they had a beautiful waterfall. Again, Kathy wasn't feeling great then.
So I
Sally
couldn't
and
do
I.
stairs.
Yeah, she stayed at the top of the waterfall. Mustang Sally and I walked down to the bottom of the waterfall, and I got a short video and a couple of pictures while we were down there.
So
It was really
beautiful.
nice.
So beautiful.
We stayed at Goose Creek RV Park outside Havelock, North Carolina. And we got to go to Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point during a weekend air show, and we saw the Blue Angels perform.
So cool.
Again, that was free, and it was definitely cool. We had a good time watching the Blue Angels and listening to the Blue Angels.
Well, not just that. At our campground, there's an airstrip right behind us. So we got to watch all the transport planes dropping the paratroopers.
Yep, that was fun. We could watch
That
it.
was, I've had so much fun.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't even have listed
Right.
that we did. And,
Right.
so we learned a couple of things while we've been out.
Absolutely we have.
One of the things we learned is awnings aren't really designed for rain protection or wind protection. They're really designed for sunshade.
Yes, they are.
And while we were at Tuxbury Pond, our second day there, it was sprinkling a little bit when we went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really think anything of it. I figured water would just run off the awning, and I figured wrong, as I often do. And long story short, the awning collapsed on us the next morning when it was just loaded up with water. So
Right.
Henrietta has been awningless ever since.
Right.
We have recently filed an insurance claim, but that's a whole another story. We're not going to go there in
Right.
this video. So awnings are meant for shade. In the future, our awnings are going to be retracted at night and might be put out during the day in the sun if needed.
Yes, if it's not too windy.
Yeah, if it's not windy. If we need it for sunshade, although we have learned to adapt to our canopy, which we're inside now filming this, so it provides plenty of sun protection, and with the netting, it provides mosquito protection as well.
Yes, because there are a lot of mosquitoes here in Florida.
Oh yes, there are. So one of the other things we learned was checking Google Earth before we head out. Primarily at the campground we're going to. So what I learned, although we have a Garmin RV780 GPS, which is designed specifically for RVs, you
Right.
put your height and all that stuff in it.
Yeah.
The maps sometimes are still out of date. Prime example, let's see, Harborview was the first time we ran into a situation. It wasn't that big a deal,
No, it wasn't.
but it routed us through a neighborhood that was being built just outside the campground. Gravel road, the roads hadn't even been paved, and it was a
Right.
pretty rough little ride through the neighborhood.
And we were wondering if we were even in the right place.
Right, because at that point we still hadn't seen any signs for Thousand Trails or
Right.
Harborview or anything. But
Right.
sure enough, when we came out following the drive, I mean, it got us there.
It did.
It was just kind of roundabout way.
Yeah.
We could have gone straight past it to the stop sign and hung a left, and we'd have been right down to
Mm-hmm.
the campground. Another one that was even more interesting than that was when we went to Tuxbury Pond in New
Lord.
Hampshire. GPS took us down an old back road, which used to be an entrance to the campground. We actually went down this back road. There were houses along the right.
Yes.
It was a dirt road. There was a chain across the road at the end. It was down, so there was nowhere to turn around. We're towing the Jeep behind the RV, so
Right.
you can't back up. Nowhere to turn around. The chain was down, so I'm like, well, let's just go across the chain.
Right. And there were no signs to indicate we shouldn't get on that
No,
road.
there weren't. So we went across the chain. We go into the campground. We see where there used to be a like a guard shack and a visitor center, but there was nothing there. And finally, one of the campers came over and asked us if we were lost.
Just
and,
a little.
And I said, "What makes you think that?" And so, long story short, we went into the old back entrance about 9 years ago. The story is the residents in that area all got together and petitioned against that campground entrance because they didn't like the traffic.
Right.
So that's not supposed to be used.
And then we saw a couple trying to do the same thing we did after we'd been there a few weeks, and we stopped and said, hey, this is the way you
Right.
go to the campground.
So we helped them to go in. So anyway, Google Maps might have helped us with that one, and it might not have, because it might have still showed the old entrance, but we might have seen the proper entrance too.
Right.
So not just Google Maps, but Google Earth, watching the street view. So that brings us to our camping details and expenses, and this is pretty exciting too. A little background. Last year, before we ever hit the road, we did a lot of YouTube research. We knew that when we decided to go full time, we were going to need a Thousand Trails membership, because there's no way we were going to be able to pay for camping on our limited budget.
Right.
So we contacted Kimberly at Campground Membership Outlet. We bought a used Thousand Trails membership. I don't remember exactly which level it was. It was basically elite or something that included the Trails collection. It was about $4,000, somewhere in that area. In February, we went to Thousand Trails Orlando and stayed at a cabin there while we were starting our domicile, and I'll link to that video here somewhere too, to become Florida residents before we sold our house in North Carolina. And while we were there, we talked to a member of the ship specialist who told us about the new adventure membership and everything that it entailed. And basically it was just so much better. We knew that's something we were going to want to do. So we upgraded to the adventure membership. It cost us an additional $10,000, I think it was, which we actually paid for from the sale of our house.
Yes.
So
Everything worked out the way it should have.
So total, we paid about $14,000 for our Thousand Trails membership.
Yep.
Going forward, and we'll probably need to do another video on membership details. But going forward, we pay a little. It's under $1,000 a year, I think, to maintain the membership. So with that said, from April 1st, when we hit the road, to October 1st, we traveled a total of 3,619 miles. We stopped and stayed in 10 different states at 25 campgrounds. Now, 18 of those campgrounds were unique, meaning we stayed at some of them twice.
Right.
12 of those 18, actually 12 of those 25, because those were the ones we doubled up on.
Yeah.
No, we doubled up on some of the private ones too.
Yes, we did.
So 12 of those campgrounds were 1,000 trails. We stayed for a total of 183 nights. Of those 183 nights, 20 nights were outside the 1,000 Trails system.
Mm-hmm.
KOAs, Good Sam's, state parks.
Right.
Those 20 nights cost us $1,295,
That's it.
which averages $64.75 a night. Now, we stayed 163 nights in the 1,000 Trail system. That cost us $0 additional per night. If you take that same $64.76 a night and apply it to those 163 nights, the membership saved us $10,555 over 6 months. So that's $21,000 in a year if we did the same thing going forward.
Right. It has been so worth it. We would not be able to full-time if it weren't for 1,000 Trails.
Absolutely. So 1,000 Trails for full-timers, for us, is definitely a way to go.
Yeah.
Some of the 1,000 Trail campgrounds may not have the amenities, say a KOA does. Again, we're not on vacation. We're living in our RV full-time, so we're looking for the most economically feasible way to do it and still be able to travel and see things. So
Yes.
1,000 Trails membership is absolutely saving us a ton of money and
So
making
worth
this
it.
lifestyle possible.
Yes.
So with that, that's our 6-month Nomadiversary recap. And as you can see, we're still excited and looking forward to the next 6 months when we do our 1-year Nomadiversary video. And excited to see what happens between now and then. Hopefully we're going to be out west somewhere when we hit our 1-year Nomadiversary.
Yes.
At least headed that way, because that'll be April 1st.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
I can't think of anything.
No, I can't either. Except, if you're new to our channel, we'd love for you to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and hit the notification bell. And we haven't been doing a lot of videos. Hopefully, now that we're kind of getting settled back in, we can do a few more. It's
Yes.
probably been 2 months since we did our last video, and we apologize for that. But we'll try to get more up. We've got a couple planned, and hopefully in the next few weeks you'll see those as well. So until next time, we'll say bye.
Bye-bye.